they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people.
Good morning. Looks like we're starting without the host. Shoot. Taylor, where are you? Oh no, where are you? I guess we'll pause for a second. Good morning.
Is it time?
Yeah, we're on live. I went ahead and opened it.
Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. We are rocking and rolling. Is there a little bit of feedback, or is that?
No, I had my mic turned off.
Okay, I can. No.
It was feeding through your mic.
Okay, I can hear something.
Oh, I don't know what
kind
it
of
is.
Electronic feedback.
Something going on your end?
I don't know.
Your fancy microphone?
Can't be my fancy microphone. That wouldn't be nice. No? Huh. Could just be, it might just be turned up. Is there a way to turn my volume down? Probably not. All right, well, welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. Not AI, not AI. This show is not AI.
Still.
Although we're working on it. We've got some projects in the making. Wow, we got a good showing this morning. Wow, you'd think I'd be a little more prepped. Look, we've got people in the chats. Holy cow, how long has this been going? Good morning, John Attackis. Really nice to see you. Carlitos, good morning from Houston. Frazier, you can do it, Ron. We have full faith in you. Carvalho, good morning. That's the best. You guys are awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into it today. Steve Bannon had this to say yesterday. Let me get a couple things rearranged. Okay, so when you think about what's going on out there, you've got the Sanctuary City crackdown. I still am getting some type of like metallic electronic feedback almost. All right, well, if you guys are having issues in the sound, just mention it in the chats and then we'll figure it out. Okay, so Steve Bannon yesterday on War Room was talking about just all the things that are going on. You've got ICE agents in the streets, FBI, DOJ, ATF, marshals, every other law enforcement has basically, made a presence on the streets. DC is literally being overrun by cops and federal agents. It's quite the show as you go down like the little rabbit holes and watch all the little videos. I mean, these guys are marching in the streets. These guys are deploying cops from all over the place. It is. I was seeing a video yesterday of federal officers in their cop cars. So these are white marked cop cars, just with federal jurisdiction. Okay. Driving into DC, like crossing the bridge, and someone was filming from an apartment. Just 100? I mean, it was like, no, really? This is a 10 square mile city. I'm pretty sure this place is going to be something else. Okay, when I was in DC the first time on January 6th, as I was leaving the Capitol and making my way through the streets trying to figure out where I could catch an Uber because they'd created like a no-go zone, and I'm walking around and I walk by this fire extinguisher, and it's a brass fire extinguisher, right? Like
You mean like a hydrant?
It's a fire hydrant. Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me. I said fire extinguisher. Fire hydrant. It's a fire hydrant, but it's brass. Brass, like polished, bright, chromy looking, brass. It's brass.
Never seen that before.
I know. And this guy walking next to me, or, kind of coming up from my behind, he says to his wife, look at that. Oh, bro, look at that fire extinguisher. We got fire extinguishers like that out where we live? I was like, no, we don't. We have cast iron suckers painted yellow or red, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, that brass fire hydrant is not cheap.
No.
Not cheap at all. And those kind of things are like, it was something, right? You talk about a gilded city. When you're in DC, you can hear the sucking noise of tax dollars coming in and nothing but rules and regulations coming out. There are no factories in the District of Columbia. They don't make things in
They make
DC.
policy.
They make policy, exactly. So the idea that they would have all this extra money and that they could have a brass fire hydrant, but, those of us out in the hinterlands, us peasants, we don't get a brass fire hydrant.
If you get one at all.
If you get one at all, yeah, exactly. Anyways, so the Democrats are starting to really see the writing on the wall. You're deporting people. People are self-deporting. You've got this executive order coming dealing with ballots and mail-in ballots. You've got lawsuits going against ICE. Media Matters is under attack. There's no more censorship coming out of the government. They're not getting talking orders, marching orders. All the mainstream medias are settling with Trump. CBS, NBC is sold now. It's going to be MS space D, and they're going to keep the same name, but it's going to be some stupid name, right? The whole zeitgeist of what they have.
People like Stacey Abrams are losing their piggy banks.
Yes, the whole zeitgeist that they have is kind of like crumbling. And they're looking at what's upcoming. They don't have any leadership. And Bannon just points out the super obvious.
It's illegitimate. Okay, here's the point. That guy who's a writer put up a tweet that said, oh my gosh, and cutting away mail-in ballots, they're going to force people actually go to polling places and vote, and then they're going to have ICE agents there, and they're going to put the word out of ICE agents so that people will be intimidated. Well, hey, if you're a citizen, you're not intimidated by an ICE agent. An ICE agent is looked at as a protector to get an illegal alien out of the country. You damn right we're going to have ICE agents out. If you're illegal alien, you're going home, and you're certainly not going to vote. Look at those people right there. I keep telling you, if they can't cheat, they can't win. And now they're just freaking out because we've had enough of this nonsense. We've had enough of crap from guys like Abbott down in Texas. The grassroots is stepping up and saying, no, we need to do these redistricting. President Trump's coming in and said, we're going to do a new census and we're going to cut the illegal aliens and they're going to stop the mail-in ballots. John Lott. And the reason the Democrats and Rachel Maddow sitting there, this is authoritarian, is they cannot exist unless they have phony voters, unless they steal an elections. Let's be blunt. They can't win. They know that. And that's why they're going, oh, the guy tweets out, this is terrible. Trump's going to take away mail-in ballots. It means people have to actually go to vote in person. And they're going to put the word out. They're going to have ICE agents, so people are going to be intimidated. Hey, if you're a citizen, you ain't intimidated. ICE agents looked at as someone that is protecting your rights as a citizen to get illegal aliens out of here. But Rachel and your writer friend, you damn right that there are going to be people there, and if illegal aliens are coming up there, boom, throw them in the back of the paddy wagon and ship them the hell out of the country.
If you show up to vote and there's ICE agents there, you're dumb enough to get thrown in the back of the paddy wagon.
Pretty much.
Oh, my goodness. Frazier on Rumble says, reported in New York Post, illegal immigrant caught working as police officer in Maine agrees to voluntarily self-deport.
What? An illegal immigrant is working as a police officer? The officer of the law.
Dude, not even surprised. When I was in DC, half the guards were foreign born. Half the guards were there on some type of, I just assumed, like, work visa.
There's not a checkbox on the application that says, I'm not a resident. I'm not a citizen.
It's racist to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's racist to ask.
Was this like a sanctuary city?
Maine? Maine?
They're going full retard.
Oh, my goodness. No kidding.
Gosh.
So the Democrat Party is functionally dead.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, why is it at my local GOP meeting they are talking about how they can't win elections? and how there's just this overwhelming, well, they hate Republicans. What's going on? If the Democrat Party is dead, why is it not dead at the base? Here's what I would say. The Democrat Party has been a top-down party. It's missing right now an effective upper crust. It's missing the power players that say what to do. The power players that have existed, the Clintons, the Bidens, the Obamas, and their apparatchiks, their little groups, are all under the microscope right now. They're all potentially facing criminal indictment. So the message they're pushing down to their base is TDS. All the way. Trump does it, we hate it, right? TDS. It's that, like I explained in debate, it's that nuke card. If you give Trump power, he's going to end up going and, causing nuclear war. But he's striking peace. That's bad for business.
Everywhere he goes.
Don't you see that Trump is bad for business? So this is Chris Cuomo, and he's talking to Benny Johnson. He's talking about the Democrat Party. Okay.
Not again.
Again, yeah. Well, we're going to listen to it.
Okay.
Again, these are the people who literally persecuted us.
I know. Okay. That's why I get tired of listening to him.
I know. And now he's kind of doing this mea culpa thing. Now he doesn't have his big paycheck coming from CNN, right? But he's making some admissions about the Democrat Party. And then at the end, we see the disingenuity of it. And we see how he still has TDS.
My brother's a Democrat. I don't know why, but he is. My father was a Democrat. I know exactly why he was, but his party doesn't exist anymore. And while I had disagreements with my father,
his brother's like, screw you, Chris. All right, we got to refresh this because it was.
That was plenty. That was enough of a clip.
I don't know why he is.
My brother's a Democrat. I have no idea why.
Right? I don't know why, but he is. My father was a Democrat. I know exactly why he was, but his party doesn't exist anymore. And while I had disagreements with my father about different issues, I knew what principles were guiding him.
Can you unpack something for me that you just said that I found fascinating? You said that my father's Democrat Party and your father ran for president as a Democrat. This is correct. And he led the state of New York as governor. As
yes, Democrat. 3 terms.
He was he was Mr. Democrat.
Yes.
Right. And he was an
liberal lion.
He was an iconoclast for the Democrat Party. You can't go anywhere in New York without finding Cuomo on the name of a bridge or a road.
Must be nice.
And so you say that his party doesn't exist anymore.
Like a wanted poster.
You know what's funny is the bridges get named after him, but developers do the same thing. They name streets after their grandkids and stuff like that. And only the developer knows. You know what I mean? Like
Trump Tower.
Yeah.
Hello.
At least he owned it, But there's something completely different than being a politician and getting a bridge named after you than being a developer and paying for it to be named after you.
So my father's battle was against trickle-down economics and Reagan Republicanism, okay? The Democratic Party that he fought for and the Republican Party that he fought against, neither exists anymore. My father's party was take care of the little guy, take care of the little guy, take care of the little guy.
By the way, trickle-down economics, the basic premise of that is let money flow where it needs to flow. So there's going to be accumulations of capital to people who sell the right widgets or people who have the right services. And then the idea is as they get rich, they'll go out and buy second homes and vacation properties and yachts and boats.
Or open new businesses.
Or open new businesses and plow back the investment into their business and hire more employees.
Right.
So the idea is let the market demand, supply and demand, merit-based economy dictate where capital flows, and then you can, hitch your wagon to someone's rising star. You want to go work for Trump because he's got stuff going on. There's lots of opportunity there. He's plowing back into his business, right? So that's trickle down economics. Yes, you're going to have some movers and shakers. You're going to have some market makers, some industry men, and they are going to look on paper like they're super rich. But what makes them rich is they're employing thousands of people, right? What makes them rich is when they buy a yacht, 700 people worked at a factory to make that yacht for a year, right? That's the trickle down idea, is that, yes, a rich guy, his duty to society is to buy stuff, right?
Keep spending.
And keep spending the money, keep the flow going, right? That's the whole idea. What the Democrats proposed in the 80s was this bottom up. Let's stimulate the body. Let's give them, the poor people, money to buy things, and then they'll go to the grocery store and buy things, and the money will work its way up. Okay. Fair enough. It's kind of two sides of the same coin. If you give the bottom rung enough money, they'll naturally go out and place that money into the things that they want and need. Okay, same concept. That makes sense, except it de-incentivized work. So strike one. Okay. In the first model, top-down economics, if someone isn't working, someone's down on their luck, bad news bears, no skill sets, low IQ, etc. Right? They kind of get left behind. In this model, you give the low IQ people, but they go spend their money on video games. Whereas in the other model, video games might not be the profitable industry. But in this one, you're paying someone essentially to spend their money on video games because they don't have to work. Do you see how that changes the market? And then on top of that, once you're paying the bottom people, because you own the money and you can dictate where that money goes, you can do things like, oh, if you're getting food stamps, you have to buy these products. And that's how craft ends up benefiting specifically and only. But the organic food grower doesn't benefit because he's excluded from having his goods purchased by the bottom down economic model.
Wow, that's tricky.
The incentives. Or, hey, we're going to give you money for housing for Section 8, but you can only live in specified low-income projects that have paid huge application fees and have solar panels. You know what I mean? So there you created a market for solar panels in order to get the gravy train of the free rent, but the solar panels have to be subsidized. Do you see how all of a sudden you create so many carrots and sticks and so many incentive points and so many moments of grift when you go bottom down?
Yeah.
But when it's top down, you just let the market roll. Do people get left out? Yeah, some people do.
And sometimes the money piles up in weird places, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so let's keep listening.
Stay out of our bedroom.
Oh, yeah,
stay out of my heart. Okay, just do all the government we need, but only the government we need. And we're a secular society. Don't put anything else on me. That's who they were. Republicans at that time were teaching to the top, for the top, about the top. Everybody should see the world through the eyes of the top. And everything else is great because the top has it great. That was the conflict. Now it's the left arguing for a cultural elite. This is how you will talk about people, Benny. This is how you will raise your kids. This is what you will tell them is okay. This is what, you will say and not say. And the Republicans are... This system sucks. All the little people are getting squashed. These elites are killing us. Anti-everything. They flipped in terms of their operative animus and their constituencies out of convenience and time. So my father's party is no more.
Okay, so he goes on to describe, my father would have called up Trump and said, don't make fun of Islam. My father would have called up Trump and done all these different things, right? Defending the little guy. We don't just put big labels on big groups. We're from Queens. We don't do that, right? That kind of thing. But then at the end, he gets to this. Let me get to this part here.
I don't really trust his analysis, by the way.
Oh, no, his analysis. I mean, there's a grain of truth in there. There's a grain of, the country club Republicans, they're a real thing.
He skirts around some truths, but with more lies.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
Germans, the Trumps, everybody had their little bucket for a while until they assimilated. And today it's all provocative bullshit all the time, no responsibility, no accountability. You just move on to the next. And it gets us views, it gets us clicks, but it's not getting us to a better place. And
that's true.
Well, he's going on to criticize Trump. I guess I kind of skipped over the whole part where he criticized. My dad would have called him up and said this. And it's like, yeah, okay, so you're not really on board with the agenda. You see that the Democrat Party has completely, lost its mojo, so to speak, but they're still so pervasive, right? And in my opinion, in the last 6 months, right, since I've been home, and Trump has officially taken power, and he's just taken a sledgehammer to everything, USAID, Doge, EPA, just goes on and on and on. He's just completely coming in, and he's not afraid to take a scalpel or a sledgehammer, depending on what tool is needed, right? So it's not that it caught him off guard. I think they're stunned at his pace and his ability to multitask. On one day, he's negotiating peace. At the same time, they're painting the border wall black. At the same time, he signs an executive order for mail-in ballots. And it's like, Norm Isom's got to be sitting back there like, I need more paralegals. You know what I mean? So this is Patrick David Bett, and he's on there talking about Dems are allergic to the golden age and just how they oppose everything.
What's going to happen if we get this deal done with Ukraine? What's going to happen to the Democrat Party?
they'll lose their minds. They will not celebrate. Although if you look at what's going on with polls, CNN, Harry Enton, they can't help themselves. They have to give the polls of what their own people are saying on how this guy's winning. What happened with Russia, the way he got Putin to go to Russia. Then he's got EU, all the leaders from NATO showing up with Zelensky to the White House. Now they're talking about the follow-up meeting that Putin wants to have in UAE or Moscow. Trump wants to do it in Alaska again as a follow-up. If they get these things going, and then Besson on the other end is doing the tariffs behind closed doors, and they're getting China to realize you can't go after Taiwan, what else do you want to talk about? What else is going to be your argument? It's going to be a very painful 26 and a painful 28.
What is Patrick Bet-David's philosophy on vacation? It's August. Everyone's off, PVD. You're not off. You're never off. Do you ever take vacation?
I just love the game, Jesse. I literally love. If you love what you're doing, man, every day it's a vacation to you.
I knew you were going to answer it like that. All right.
Last night I was like, I was talking about 1776 Live, and which we've got some amazing things going on over there. By the way, if you haven't been to one of our Ignite presentations on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, so I believe that's 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We do the Ignite presentation at 4:30. You can go to 1776live.us. Just go right there and you'll see a webinar registration, register, get the link and everything. Over there, right, we've built this incredible platform, teaches people incredible strategies on how to live in the private and stuff like that. And my wife and I were talking about it last night, and I was like, oh, I just recreated it. It was just a figment of my imagination. We just recreated it. And she's like, and now it's a creation. And I was like, I know, it's awesome. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's been true recreation. Anyways, Nietzsche says this, right? This is Nietzsche is one of my favorite philosophers. Everybody's got some favorites. I don't agree with every single thing he's ever written. Clearly, I've got my own opinions. That's why I have my own show. But he says this: there's a point in history of society when it becomes so pathologically soft and tender that, among other things, it sides even with those who harm it, criminals, and does this quite seriously and honestly. Punishing somehow seems unfair to it, and it is certain that imagining punishment and being supposed to punish hurts it, arouses fear in it. Is it not enough to render him undangerous? Why still punish? Punishing itself is terrible. With this question, herd morality, the morality of timidity, draws the ultimate consequence. That is what the Democrat Party has become. When Rush Limbaugh used to talk about bleeding heart liberals, soft heart liberals, this is exactly what he's talking about. You've gotten so soft, you don't know how to punish a criminal.
Yeah.
Right? You fell victim to the con. You have let your virtue of not wanting to judge, not wanting to do harm to others, be weaponized against you, to where the criminal who struck you says, strike not, otherwise you'll be an heir. And you go, okay. You know what I mean? Turn the other cheek. Let me hit you again. It's too much. There's a point in history of society when it becomes so pathologically soft and tender that, among other things, it sides even with those who harm it, criminals. It does this quite seriously and honestly. That's what the Democrat Party has become. And that's why they cannot comprehend why people would support ICE and deportations. I don't like incarceration. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I don't know that I would really want to be lifted off the street and, taken thousands of miles back home where I was trying to get away from in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I cannot imagine a scenario or a world where I just move to Brazil without asking. Or just go to Canada and just, start a business and decide to be a Canadian Royal Mountie without having proper documentation. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. So, yeah, you can pick your choices, but you don't get to pick your consequences. Over in the chat, Carlite said, Javier Milei said it best, fuera, out. Yeah, I know Portuguese. I don't know Spanish. Sometimes I have to think about those words. Fuera, it means out. Fuera. Okay. Another thing that happened yesterday, pretty amazing. Tulsi Gabbard went ahead and pulled the security clearance of 37 intelligence officials. So this letter here says the U.S. government security clearance system exists to protect classified national security information and to ensure that those entrusted with access to our nation's most sensitive information uphold the highest standards of integrity, objectivity, and stewardship. So it goes on to say, it is the determination of this office, the Director of National Intelligence, that certain individuals have engaged in some or all of the following conduct, undermining those standards, to include politicization or weaponization of intelligence to advance personal, partisan, or non-objective agendas inconsistent with national security priorities. Failure to safeguard classified information in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, and agency policies. Failure to adhere to professional analytic tradecraft standards and other conduct detrimental to the trust and confidence required or for continued access to national security information. It's kind of boilerplate, but it's also pretty damning. You guys were messing around. And here's the list of people, 37 people.
Whoa.
I've never heard of a single one of them.
Really?
Never heard of a single one of them. Andrew Cedar, Andrew P. Miller, Benjamin Cooper, Beth Sainer, Brett Holmgren, Charles Kupchin, Christopher Center, Corrine Gaff, Diplet Sidhu, Edward Gistaro, Emily Holm, Harry Hanna, Heather Gutierrez, Jamie Jowers, Jeffrey Prescott, Joel Meyer, Joel Willett, John Ficken, Julia Garanas, Julia Santucci, Lauren DeJong Schulman, Lake Hartig, Mayor Bitar, Mark Fierstein, Mary Beth Goodman, Megan F. Doherty, Michael P. Dempsey, Perry J. Blastein, Richard H. Leggett, Samantha Vingrad, Sarah Farnsworth, Selby Pearson, Stephanie O'Sullivan, Thomas West, Zing Nguyen, William Tuttle, and Yale Estinate. And I hope I pronounced every one of your names wrong.
Go ahead and complain.
I'm weaponizing my funky jaw against you, okay? It takes me a while to work out some of these weird vowel and consonant.
I wonder what the offices that these people held were.
I don't know. But the fact that I've never heard of these people, and I'm as deep as anybody in the news.
Well, hold on, though. I think that this is by design, because I think that you run the first cattle through and you don't want to know who they are because it makes it easier. There's less friction. If you have named people, like if Obama was on the list, oh, brother, there would be a hailstorm.
They've already pulled like John Brennan, Clapper. They've already pulled the top people, the people we knew their names. They've already pulled their security clearance. That was like week one.
Okay.
So these people, they're still in the intelligence community. That was part of this. Like, I don't think they were all previously fired. Maybe some of them were. I haven't seen any indications one way or the other.
Well, we haven't seen their names before.
But these are the people that did the work. Clapper just said, do it. These people wrote it. Right? They got down in the weeds with it. They looked at the dossier and said, how can we convert this to something we can launder into the FBI or whatever other elements and parts they had to play with it. So Tulsi Gabbard got on to Sean Hannity last night to explain this, because apparently this sent some shockwaves around DC. You know, 37 people. These people have kids on your kids' soccer team, and oh my gosh, they're getting come after. I thought they were the ones telling me all these years that they've seen the goods. Trump's a Russian asset or whatever it is.
There's probably a buzz going around.
You know, these are the people that would go meet with. My imagination is these are also some of your intermediaries. Clapper's like, hey, I need something to be said on CNN. So go talk to your people. You know what I mean? These are the contact points.
Yep.
So Tulsi Gabbard explains herself.
First of all, thank you for having me on. It's great to see you. The intelligence community assessed in the months leading up to that November 2016 election that, yes, Russia was trying to interfere in our election by sowing discord and chaos, but stating over and over again that Russia did not appear to have any preference for one candidate over the other. They viewed both as equally bad for Russia's interest. The big shift that happened around what is now commonly known as Russiagate was after the election. In early December, President Obama called a meeting of his National Security Council leadership. From that meeting, there was directive that was delivered from President Obama to then Obama's DNI, James Clapper, to then CIA Director John Brennan, to come up with a new intelligence community assessment that contradicted the ones that had been produced previously by the intelligence community. This new one said that Russia, Putin, did try to interfere in the election because he wanted Trump to win. They did this using shoddy intelligence, little pieces of intelligence gathered from places that intelligence professionals refused to reference previously because they knew it was substandard and did not meet the quality and the credibility that is expected of them as intelligence professionals. And they used the Steele dossier, knowing John Brennan knew, James Clapper knew, others within the intelligence community knew that the Steele dossier was a political manufactured document intended to be weaponized against then candidate Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump won the election. The American people voted for Donald Trump in 2016. So these intelligence leaders, and John Brennan and James Clapper and James Comey, then director of the FBI, then used this Steele dossier as a source for this Obama-directed new intelligence assessment. Again, stating and alleging that Putin, Russia, tried to help Trump win the election. Clearly showing a preference for Donald Trump. Now, if you go to odni.gov, people who say, well, Tulsi, this is just your view or your interpretation. No, it's all in hundreds of pages of documents that I've declassified and released that show point by point exactly what happened through this timeline that showed this very dangerous thing that occurred in the creation of Russiagate, the creation of this manufactured intelligence assessment that essentially had the intent of undermining the voices and votes of the American people who elected Donald Trump. They were not happy with the outcome of that election. And so they created this politicized, weaponized piece of fake intelligence that, as you mentioned, then went on to serve as a foundation for everything that came after, the multiple investigations, the years-long Mueller investigation, 2 congressional impeachments, investigations in the raid at Mar-a-Lago. The list goes on and on. Ultimately, the real crime here was against the American people because this action singularly undermined the integrity of our democratic republic. What to speak of the fact that some of those folks and those 37 individuals that we revoked, directed the revocation of security clearances from today by under the direction of President Trump, they aided and abetted in this action, this seditious conspiracy that undermined our democracy, undermined our republic, and broke that sacred trust that every one of these professionals is supposed to have from the American people.
We have deep state actors that are trying to influence our presidential elections. Is that what we're concluding here?
Yes, we have people within the intelligence community. Again, when you look at...
Oh, so it wasn't Russia? It wasn't Russia trying to influence the election. It was actual deep state intelligence actors? Yes. And I just read poorly a name of 37 of them, in addition to the ones we see on TV all the time. I just put a poll in the Rumble chat. Let's take a poll. Who thinks that Schiff will get prosecuted and who thinks that Letitia James will get prosecuted while we finish listening to Tulsi Gabbard?
This example of who President Obama charged with this task. John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey at the highest levels, but also those who worked as careerists within the intelligence community who did not object to their manipulation and manufacturing of intelligence and actually helped them get there, all moving towards their partisan interests, that they were not happy with the outcome of this election, and they were willing to do whatever it took in order to try to undermine President Trump's administration during his first term in office. These are bad actors that have to be rooted out. Our national security depends on it. The ability for the American people's trust to be earned back depends on exposing the bad actors and holding them accountable. And that's what President Trump is determined to do.
Exposing the bad actors and
it's great to see you.
Them accountable. And it's encouraging words, I got to say. Now, sometimes you just got to take a seat. Sometimes you just got to take a seat and look at the world around you and just appreciate its beauty, but also just let things play out and relax a little bit. Ron, if you just need to take a seat for a minute because of all the exciting things in the news, where would you get that seat?
Well, let me tell you, looking for a comfortable but unique option for your gaming setup? Check out technosportusa.com with a wide range of ergonomic chairs and an array of colors that will definitely bring your setup to the next level. Always comfy, never boring. Technosport. Use code RUMBLE for 10% off entire order.
I know that when I'm thinking about people getting prosecuted, if and when an indictment ever comes out, I'm going to be looking for my Technosport chair to sit down in.
Absolutely.
All right. So we keep it coming in. We've got our answer to our question: will Letitia James get prosecuted? Will Adam Schiff get prosecuted? John Atakis says, wish both, but expect neither. For Frazier, yeah, both should, especially Schiff. Yeah, no kidding, especially Schiff. You know, as I was doing a deep dive on Schiff one time, I ran into this guy named John Here to Help. His real name was Jonathan McGreevy. He ended up running for Senate in Baltimore. And
John Here to Help. That rings a super bell.
It was a Twitter handle.
Yeah. I think we played a lot of him in our first episode.
Yes, because he worked under the Bush administration. He worked to infiltrate the Muslim Brotherhood. And then when Obama came around, he kind of got on the outs. And then he started, it's kind of one of those things, spies be spying. And when he couldn't spy for the administration anymore, he basically started spying on the administration. But he was tasked with, he was employed-ish, contracted through the Department of Homeland Security, if I'm not mistaken. And he got paired up with a guy named Sean Bridges, who was a Secret Service cyber agent, by Rod Rosenstein, who was the attorney in Baltimore, the DOJ attorney in Baltimore, tasks them to go to Cheryl Atkins' house to tap their internet. Okay. Sean Bridges got prosecuted for some type of fraud where he maintained like a $400 million Bitcoin wallet, wouldn't turn it over to the government, right? And he ended up spending time in prison for it, but never turned over the Bitcoin. So, profitable few years, okay?
Yeah.
And then, but he did get indicted and prosecuted and put in prison for that. And Jonathan McGreevy is the one who told Cheryl Atkinson about some of the planting and how the child pornography got on her husband's computer, because he was the one tasked to go out and literally put the clamps in a new little router box on the outside of their house. They came in a van looking like they were the cable company. Okay. And Atkinsons were like, what's this extra thing over here? And he admitted to all of it, court filings and everything. Anyways, the reason I was mentioning that was, I don't remember. Deep dives on Adam Schiff. So as I was kind of going through Adam Schiff, I ran into him, kind of heard his story. He does have some credibility, but some things are pretty out there as well. But he was talking about how Adam Schiff was basically involved in a very untoward activity with a young minor in a hotel, and Anthony Bourdain was there and saw it. And Anthony Bourdain, later was taken out in France, and this whole ugly connection. Okay. So Ed Martin writes a letter to Letitia James' lawyer. So apparently, Letitia James's lawyer wrote a letter to Pam Bondi basically saying, you need to drop any investigation into Letitia James. This is silly. This mortgage fraud thing's not a big deal, blah, 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 blah. So Ed Martin, who is tasked with investigating Letitia James, not the person, but the crimes she's committed, allegedly, says this: Dear Sir, this is written to Abe David Lowell, Esquire, who is representing Letitia James. Does that name ring a bell?
Oh, man. No.
Abe Lowell was Hunter Biden's attorney.
No.
And Abe Lowell is the attorney that loaned Hunter Biden $2 million to pay off his IRS debt to try to avoid IRS prosecution.
No.
Yes. I'm dead serious.
Oh my God.
I'm dead serious. So this Abe Lowell guy is kind of implicated in some stuff, okay? And here he is representing Letitia James, New York State's top prosecutor. She couldn't get Alan Dershowitz to defend her. You know what I mean? I imagine you were mortified to read online and publicly your recent letter to U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. It got leaked. On page 4, you make admissions about your client Letitia James' conduct that are stunning to me. I am special attorney investigating many matters, including the criminal referral to which you refer in the Bondi letter. I believe your admission regarding Letitia James' conduct indicates that she is serious about addressing the problems presented in the referral. After all, her approval of your letter includes admission, although she likely did not expect it to be published. At this time, Letitia would be best to serve the, quote, good of the state and nation by resigning from office to address the issues in the referral. Her resignation from office would give the people of New York and America more peace than proceeding. I would take this as an act in good faith. Because of your reputation for using the media to argue your points, I prefer that we communicate by letter. I find leaks like your Bondi letter professionally unacceptable and personally insulting. To that end, I specifically ask that you redouble your efforts not to leak this confidential letter. I prefer not to have to move in court to stop your client from leaking. Thank you for considering this and alerting your client to this matter. All the best, Edward R. Martin Jr.
And it got leaked apparently because we're reading it.
Yeah, and I didn't go in to look, but I did find that kind of funny. I guess the letter got leaked. Definitely out of Tish Attorney's office.
Jeez.
Okay, back to our poll. Anybody else? Pray the Rosary Daler says, I hope both. I hope both. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. So on that, there was another huge thing that happened. The USAA, Federal Housing, FHA, alleges in a criminal referral to the Department of Justice that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa D. Cook committed mortgage fraud by designating her out-of-state condo as her primary residence just 2 weeks after taking a loan on her Michigan home, where she declared it as her primary residence. When someone commits mortgage fraud, they undermine the faith and the integrity of our system. It does not matter who you are. No one is above the law. We have sent a criminal referral to the Department of Justice with regard to the allegations. Mrs. Cook and the DOJ should follow the facts wherever they lead. So basically, this woman right here, sitting next to Jerome Powell, too late Powell, committed mortgage fraud. Wow. 14 days apart. She bought 2 houses. And look at that. Matching signature, primary residence, primary residence. Criminal referral. Hoop, hoop, hoop. Now, who is she? Lisa D. Cook is a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, appointed in May.
Do we have a picture of her?
23rd. Nope. Okay. She's a Federal Reserve. That was the picture you got, buddy. Okay. She's a black lady. To fill an unexpired term ending in 31/2024 and reappointed September 13th, 2023, obviously by Joe Biden, for a term ending in January 31, 2038. What? You get a 15-year appointment to the Board of Governors? A 15-year appointment to the Board of Governors? Holy smokes. She is the first African-American woman and the first woman of color to serve on the board. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. Seriously, like... Our first black president's a treasonous traitor, and now the first black woman on the Board of Governors is a mortgage fraudster? Oh man, you guys are not doing very well at this.
0 for 2.
0 for 2? Listen, no racism.
Hey, we're just fun in here.
Yeah, no racism. No homo, no racism.
We're
right?
just
like, don't care.
Sorry.
But there's an element of, was this a DEI hire? You know what I mean? Like, now that we understand what that was all about,
can we never do that again?
Can we never do that again? Yeah. Can we?
And I'm not saying we're not hiring black people. I'm just saying let's totally not hire DEIs.
Yeah, this is no bueno. Ridiculous. So she sat on the board of governors, and apparently doesn't respect financial laws. It's pretty freaky. So Polte said this about it. And remember, Letitia James, now her, and Adam Schiff are all under the gun for mortgage fraud.
It doesn't matter whether you're a politician. It doesn't matter whether you're a lawyer. It doesn't matter whether you're somebody famous. If you commit mortgage fraud, we are going to go after you. It doesn't matter whether you're a politician. If you have a mortgage that you committed mortgage fraud, I highly recommend refinancing out of it right now and doing it correctly.
Yeah, cool. It might be too late. I mean, the record's already there.
Yeah. You know, here's the thing. The United States government was weaponized against the people, right? They absolutely would prosecute you for mortgage fraud. Ron, they wouldn't even hesitate 1 second. If they got wind of it, they'd done.
Which makes it funny to me why these people all thought, hey, I got a great idea. We can all do this and save a few bucks.
Silicon Bank, when they collapsed, had a bank ratio of 1 to 263. 1 to 10 is the limit. They should have shut down at 1 to 11. They got to 1 and 263. And then Scott Bessent is like, oh, and by the way, the president of Silicon Bank also sat on the San Francisco board of, central bank board or whatever it is, Fed Reserve Board. And they're the regulators of the bank. So he was his own regulator. So they just think they're above it. I mean, if you're on the board of governors and you're making mortgages, you don't care. Just get whatever you want, right? It doesn't even matter. It's actually stunning to me in a certain way that these people even have mortgages, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
But they understand that debtors win and savers lose. So maybe they're just leveraging out their wealth. That's fine. Whatever. Okay. So this is Ed Martin talking to Matt Gaetz, and he's talking about kind of everything, right? He's the weaponization of government U.S. attorney. And he makes some really interesting admissions about January 6th, and I want to talk about those.
Are you confident with what you're able to get access to and assess that you're going to be able to very thoroughly make your prosecutorial judgments?
Well, look, I've been involved with our mutual friend Tulsi Gabbard at DNI, and she has gone, and I hope people have tracked what I call the birthday of the Russia hoax, which was revealed by Tulsi. It actually was born on Friday, December 9th, 2016, and it was done by the Obama White House in a special meeting, aided by the Washington Post. This is in the record. This is indisputable. This is not like me and you debating. And what we go forward from there, and you say that was the Russia hoax that was used to almost cripple the Trump administration by design. Then you go forward to 2020, and you say, what happened on January 6th and afterwards? And to your point, Matt, what they did with this.
Okay, he's making the connection. The Russia hoax thing leads to January 6th.
Duh.
Well, duh to you and me, right? But to most Americans, these are separate issues. It's not people.
How are they separate?
Because
I don't even understand how they could be separate.
They're separate issues in the mind of them. This was Trump and his gang. You know, the Democrats had nothing to do with January 6th. That's all Republicans and bad guys, right?
Cricket.
Listen to this.
Select committee was they weaponized the power of Congress. They were aided by the media, and they were often aided by the Article 3 courts and the prosecutors. And they took the hoax and they pounded out a message. And frankly, they brainwashed 40% of the country, 50% of the country. There's still people are still sick with it because they rely. So what is our goal? One is to hold people that do things that are destructive and against the law accountable. I want to do that. We're going to do that. I promise you. But we're also trying to get to the truth. And so when you have a Tulsi Gabbard who can say, here was some of the truth, I can tell you, we've been going through the records, emails of the Department of Justice from the Biden era, and we're seeing who was doing what. I'll give you a quick example. They put everybody on January 6th that was arrested, minus maybe 100, onto the terrorism watch list. And when you said, wait a second, you're on the terrorism watch list, why? You're supposed to be a terrorist or a member of a terrorist group or another criteria. The other criteria was, we just wanted to put you on. And when you were pardoned by Donald Trump, all 1,500 plus went off the terrorism watch list. Well, that just proves it wasn't a terrorism watch list. It's a list to punish you when you go to the airport. And that's what they did. We have numbers that the IRS were auditing J6 targets in a higher percentage than other groups. This is all the use of government against the people. And I'll just finish with this, man.
Okay. I lived through that.
Yeah.
I was on that no-fly list. I was on that terrorism watch list.
I feel like we're still living through this.
I hope
to a certain extent.
I hope it's over, right? I mean,
yeah, me too.
I haven't been on a plane successfully without being on the watch list since. Hoping to take my first trip sometime soon. But I was on that watch list. I was on the terrorism watch list. I had my bank account closed. I got the letter saying, get your money out. You cannot bank here anymore. At Wells Fargo, a bank I'd banked at since I was 14. I'd had an account there since I was 14 years old. Can't bank here anymore. I had all digital accounts, sent me little letters saying can't have an account, can't have an account, can't have an account, Lyft, on and on. Okay. And I don't know if audit is the right word, but I got a proctal exam by the IRS.
It was not an audit.
As soon as we shut this show down, I got into it with the IRS. In fact, just so you understand what it meant to me, these are my dealings with the IRS. Okay. Post January 6th, hundreds of communications with the IRS I had to deal with. I don't hardly ever talk about this here. I was targeted.
Absolutely. It was not an audit. This was not an audit.
I didn't just have to deal with a misdemeanor trespass charge. I had to deal with the IRS. I had to deal with the Department of Homeland Security and air marshals and TSA. I had to deal with banking officials and banking professionals. I was debanked.
Yeah.
Okay. And guess what? There were lots of people that had sympathy, but I don't know that anyone, while we were going through it, really comprehended how much was going on.
I didn't, and I'm right next to you.
I kept my head down. I went to work every day. I limited my social media presence. I studied and did what I had to do to deal with my case directly, deal with the IRS directly, deal with all of that. And meanwhile, I had close family members that are like, did you get your vaccine?
And I'm sorry for laughing, Taylor, but I had the same experience, really. I mean, I wasn't going through what you were going through specifically, but dude, the gaslighting and the brainwashed, family members, it's a lot to go through.
Dude, and I'm sitting here going, I feel like the government's weaponized against me. I mean, yeah. And people are just like, this is the United States of America. I'm sure it'll all work out. And it's like, I don't think you guys know what time of day it is. Like, the next step is up against the wall, sir. Kapowie!
Well, yeah. And then I would report to you some days like, I think I had a guy following me yesterday again. And you'd be like, oh, come on. Nobody's following you today. Nobody's following you, Ron. And I'm like, bro, they were talking about details that nobody should know.
Meanwhile, I'm just out there. I'm just like, whatever. Last words I said to the FBI was, I live my life in the light, right? There's nothing about my life that I'm not going to have to stand before my maker and answer for. So whatever, my mom always used to teach me happiness is a choice, but she also taught me very clearly, you have the agency to make whatever choices you want, but you don't always get to choose your consequences, right? I chose to support Donald Trump. I chose to go to January 6th. I chose to bring a bullhorn. I chose to do what I did. I got to suffer the consequences. The idea was to do it with dignity and integrity and not compromise who I am, not take a deal. You know what I mean? Not lie, not continue to double down on my own mistakes. You know what I mean? But Ed Martin is saying, look, that list of misdemeanor trespass people and people who supported Donald Trump made its way to the IRS and they started opening your files. It made its way to DHS and they put you on a terror watch list. Like, these are not normal things. When I got debanked and I told the defense attorney at the time, he was like, what? I mean, I've defended major fraudsters. They don't even take away their bank account. They might freeze the funds. Right. You know what I mean? They might monitor it, but they don't tell them to close it down. Right. Like, that's unheard of. He's like, rapists and murderers get bank accounts. Yeah. I mean, how do you think fundraising works when you don't have a bank to deposit things into? It just goes on and on.
You've seen this, you know this, you've been aware of it. But we've never seen what happened in the Biden administration, the use of government against the American people. We've never seen it in our history. And so am I confident we're going to get to the bottom of it? Yes, because I got to get up in the morning early and work hard all day. But it is a fight. And it is a fight because people have deleted, they disappeared, they moved on. They tried to say, don't talk about it, get on with it. President Trump has said, we're going to get to the bottom of it. I'm also involved in the 2020 election and the 2016 election to get to the bottom of what happened. We're going to have grand juries. We're going to pull people in. And the one thing I'll say over and over again, Matt, it won't surprise you. It's the same people that were at the Russia hoax birthday party. It's the same people overlapping over and over again. And what Rudy Giuliani said once, and he knows better than anybody in our American history, when you put these people together and they're always working together, that's called an enterprise. That's called a criminal enterprise. And you're in territory where everybody's held accountable for the whole of it. And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Some people might call them conspiring men.
Gadianton robbers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just continually stunned by it. I am. And I lived through it. And sometimes I look back and I just think, how did we make it? I mean, an IRS audit can take people out, right? Being on a no-fly list, that can knock people out. All these, it's funny, I had a J6er call me up randomly out of the blue the other day. Have you been able to get a job? We don't talk that much. I was like, well, I made my own. I was like, I know how the job thing goes. Like, I'm not doing that. And he's like, I cannot find a job. We've been out 7 months. Is that right? So February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, we've been out 7 months. 7 months today.
Wow.
Today's my 7-month anniversary of freedom. Can you guys believe that? So we've been out 7 months. You still can't find a job. If you Google my name, don't recommend it. It's not good. If you're a family member of mine, don't Google your name because I'm going to come up. Okay.
Well, plus every time you Google it, it gets
Gets trafficked. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be associated with a terrorist. You don't know when the list comes back.
Exactly.
So one of the things, I can't play this video because it's got the buffering wheel of death here, but Kristi Noem goes down to the border wall, does a little thing, and she goes, "We're painting the border wall black. Make it even hotter in the summer so that it burns your hands when you try to climb it." She literally went down.
She said that?
They're painting the wall black. Quote, "The black paint will get hot with the sun, which will burn people's hands if they try to climb it."
Oh, jeez.
And next month, they're going to electrify it.
Don't wring your hands so much. You're like,
we're going to electrify the fence. I gotta say, in 2016, when Trump was going around doing rallies and, build the wall, build the wall, I said, what an iconic thought, through digital surveillance and just through tighter border policies, we are going to build a hypothetical wall. We're really going to enforce that border. Dude, he was serious. He built a wall. I wonder how many.
It's not a metaphorical thing.
I always think of that Asian comic when he's like, he goes through and explains in detail, and then he goes, "But you don't have the vocabulary and don't read enough," so it comes out, "Let's go, Brandon."
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of people like me that were like, "Let's build a wall" was the "Let's go, Brandon." I'm trying to say this big thing. Border policies are really broken, and when you let illegal immigrants come in and
build the wall,
wages don't rise, and you get individuals who get stuck in a career path with a ceiling because you're constantly introducing low, cheap labor. And some of them actually come with significant experience in other countries, which also means that they'll promote through the system faster and they compete with you. It also takes away entry-level jobs from, other things. And then it creates an increasing level of crime because these people have already been introduced into the country and their first step into the country was a criminal act. And so it's no big deal to shoplift or whatever because they've had a sense of entitlement. And at the end of the day, just build the wall.
Brought to you by Micro Machines.
Yeah. Build the wall. He did it. And now they're painting it black. Dude, when I saw that, I just had to chuckle. I wish I could play the video. She's standing there. We're going to paint the wall black because it'll burn your hands, suckers. Okay. So Julie Kelly was on War Room and she was talking about.
With that. Yes, it does appear.
Oh, and I got to slow down it because I listen to everything at 2x speed.
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah. So Julie Kelly was on War Room talking about the grand juries and kind of all the different things that are happening, as well as Andrew Bailey coming over to the FBI. So she's another one of these people. She's well connected. I sat with her in the hallway of the DC courtroom. She sat in my courtroom for my sentencing and various parts of my trial. Really nice lady, very sympathetic. And, it's funny, inside of any organization, there's always kind of infighting. There's the Julie Kelly's a Fed crowd, and then there's Julie Kelly who's like, ignore those guys. They're just spinning up narrative, right? I don't really care. As you guys can tell on this show, I just kind of take everybody at surface value. So I take her at surface value, and here's what I do know about her. She's connected.
So dovetailing with that, yes, it does appear that the DOJ and FBI ramping up their investigations. It appears that they are opening up grand jury proceedings, hopefully not in Washington, for some of the perpetrators of the Russiagate hoax. And now we have the announcement that Andrew Bailey, the Missouri Attorney General, who has a long history, background in state prosecutions, will be the co-deputy director alongside Dan Bongino, of course, working for Kash Patel and AJ Pambandi, to start moving forward and advancing some of these cases.
So you take this more as a sign of strength and perhaps more of a focus or orientation around prosecutions as opposed to, chaos inside the FBI. That's obviously how the legacy media has tried to spin it. You think that this is actually potentially a good sign for real accountability in the form of, working it through the courts, going after these people from a prosecutorial perspective.
I absolutely do. And look, there is chaos within the FBI. Because you still have this systemically corrupt bureau under a systemically corrupt Department of Justice. The FBI is underneath the Department of Justice, and they don't know who to trust. And they have found out the hard way and the good way by exposing a lot of the bad actors early on, firing J6 prosecutors, firing prosecutors, investigators, and agents who are involved, say, in the Mar-a-Lago raid and investigation. But they don't know who they can trust. And we just saw the firing of Brian Driscoll, who was the acting, had been the acting deputy for a while as they were awaiting confirmation and placement of Dan Bongino and, of course, Stephen Jensen, who also was the acting chief of the Washington FBI field office. Both of those gentlemen given their walking papers a week or so ago. So in terms of leadership, Natalie, Kash and Dan need to know who they can trust. And they're not just going to pull some, assistant chief, whatever, the ASAC from random field office to work alongside of them, because the trust factor within the Bureau is nil. So I take this as a very positive sign. They definitely have their hands full, not just with these politically motivated or politically natured investigations into Russiagate and January 6th and the Mar-a-Lago raid, Adam Schiff, Letitia James, et cetera, but also really fighting crime and reassigning, redirecting the resources and focus of the FBI to domestic law enforcement, to protecting the homeland, protecting cities, protecting the border. And so, yes, I definitely take this as a good sign, but I would not write off the chaos that is still going on, not necessarily the leadership level, but certainly the rank and file.
So there's still chaos at the rank and file level.
Does that mean there's still problem people?
Probably. There was a complete 180. Think about this. January 6ers are domestic terrorists. January 6ers are heroes. It's complete 180, right? Total 180. When the FBI came to my house to return property, I wasn't there, but my wife spoke with him for a short minute, and the new FBI agent replacing the old FBI agent that was told to transfer because was going to hit the fan. So, get out of town. So he transferred all the way across the country. Literally when Ed Martin was saying they've deleted things, they've told people to move on. That's exactly what they did. Separate the agent from his files. So you can come look at the files, but the agent can't be interviewed, make it hard, make it difficult. That creates a slowdown. Clearly that FBI agent was involved in bad things. And clearly they wanted to get him away from that office. So it wouldn't be very convenient to dig into that. Archived files. Oh, former employee. Yeah, his stuff's in the archives. It's, on the microfiche film. You know what I mean? But the new agent that was replacing him was like, well, your husband did try to overthrow the government. I'm a pardoned man.
Hello.
Your husband did try to overthrow the government. Did I? Excuse me? You know what I mean? Like, no, not what happened. So, yeah, there's chaos at the lower level because they probably look at Trump as the usurper. Because that's what they've been told by their employers who allegedly have the cloak of authority. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a big problem. So, yeah, I can see why they'd bring in an outsider to come in and try to clean things up a little bit or be a partner in justice. I hate to say partner in crime, but, a partner in justice on the thing. But wowzers. All right. On the economic front, Peter Navarro, who is, I don't know his official title now. He's whatever. He's right in the White House dealing with economic policy. He is talking about how the United States is the product. Our market is the product that other countries don't just want to sell to, but are totally dependent on selling to. And this is key as to why the tariffs have not caused price increases, is because the countries and the exporters are eating up the costs because that's how strategic and important our market is to them. And that's what's creating the leverage.
The foreigners, the exporters who are heavily dependent on this market. And we see this clearly in the data. We saw it clearly from the first term. Think about it now. We've collected over $100 billion in tariffs already. We've had zero inflation from that. And what happens is, look, it's like if Germany or China or India is heavily dependent on the U.S. market and tariffs go on, they've got a choice. They either can't sell here if they raise prices or sell less, or they got to eat it. And that's what they do. The foreigners or the exporters who are
they have no one else to sell it to. You're a billion people in India. Who are you going to sell to? Mozambique? You know what I mean? They're totally addicted to foreign money. And that's the source of capital. And we have a prime position as the, prime reserve currency, and they want dollars. So they got to sell here. Okay, on to the chat to finish up our poll question. Pray the Rosary Daily says, ironically, mortgage frauds in and of themselves are fraud. And I replied, yes, in the way the system is, all loans are rooted in a fraudulent position because there's no gold or silver. You can go listen to that Warner podcast with Tucker Carlson where he talks specifically about this.
Yeah.
Cam Razel, on your question, Schiff should be in jail. Letitia should be publicly shamed. She should be in jail too. They both use their political positions as blunt weapons. They should have a mom like me that would take a stick and switch me each time I slowed down to go and apologize. That would teach them.
Oh, dude.
I had
so funny.
I had a guard one time told me, he goes, the BOP believes in capital punishment. You should get the switch. I remember when I was
my dad's initials were not BOP.
I remember when I was a kid, there was that person in Singapore who's an American citizen that did graffiti on a car.
Oh, yeah. The guy got caned.
He got 10 caning.
Yeah. I remember that.
He got spanked, man.
Well, it's a little harder than spanking.
You know what? I got to tell you, I would have traded 1,000, not 1,000. I'd have traded 100 lashings to not have to serve 14 months in prison. You could have caned me black. I would have been okay.
Oh, man.
It would have been better.
Caning's no joke, though. Don't do that, kids.
Yeah, no joke.
Jeez.
Okay, so my answer to this poll question is I think Schiff and Letitia James will both go to jail. From what I've seen on the mortgage fraud thing, I think that is like the easiest low-hanging fruit. Yep, easiest low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
So other countries are totally dependent on us for the bulk of their market share. They depend on exports. Their companies have become bigger than their capacity to sell just to the United States. I wonder a company like Apple, what is their United States market cap versus their foreign market cap? Can Apple survive without the rest of the world?
So it used to be the answer would be yes. I'm not sure anymore, but to your point, there are a lot of companies that want to open up new markets like China, and you'll see stories now and then for for example, an actor who will do a bunch of stuff over in China to try to build his rep or whatever. Well, you find out that they have a movie or something that they made in America, and then they want to then market in a secondary market, what they call a secondary market, and that market is China, which ends up being a market that's bigger than America, and they end up some of these actors make more money in secondary markets like China than they do in America. So like think of guys like John Cena, and how come he can speak Mandarin Chinese?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, that's why he wants the market share.
These markets are huge.
He wants to be in China what Arnold Schwarzenegger was to children of the 80s. He wants to be that to children in China.
Yes, and he can make hundreds of millions of dollars in China, where in America he made let's say 100.
Trump did sign an executive order saying films now have to be made here, because he's like, that's fine if you want to sell them there, but you got to have the jobs here, because the trend was make the films overseas or up in British Columbia, right? Sell it overseas and make your primary market there. And the only thing that comes back home, if any of the money repatriates, it just goes to a movie studio that's basically just a handful of warehouses in Hollywood now.
Yep.
Very little is done in the U.S. in those films. And I don't know. I mean, it's a percentage game. I'm sure people in Hollywood that are in the business, well, I'm working today. Yeah. But when you think of the whole universe of film production and how much of the percentage of that used to be based out of Hollywood versus now they're spread out to Kingdom Come. And it's not just on-site shooting. It's all of it is being done overseas.
So when you talk about a company like Apple, there's a similar crossover, but it's different. So I don't know that Apple could exist with only a U.S. market anymore, but in the foreign and secondary markets, they also have to compete with a bunch of counterfeited goods.
Yeah.
And it's harder to sell, a multi-$1,000 iPhone in China than it is anywhere else.
Yeah. Or a set of Callaway golf clubs.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So Scott Besson also talks about how India, Russia, and China have created basically a oil racketeering scheme, cartel, something going on.
Let's go back and look at the history, though, Becky. And look, China importing it is suboptimal. But if you go back and look pre-22, pre-invasion, 13% of China's oil was already coming from Russia. Now it's 16. So China has a diversified input of their oil. If you go back and look now, I believe India had less than 1% of their oil, 1%, and now I believe it's up to 42. So wow. India is just profiteering, or they are just profiteering. They are reselling. They've made $16 billion in excess profits, some of the richest families in India. So this is a completely different thing. Like this Indian, what I would call the Indian arbitrage, buying cheap Russian oil, reselling it as product, has just sprung up during the war, which is unacceptable.
You just called India on the carpet. And some rich Indian families. So India has a huge populist groundswell, and they have an actual communist party. Right, because a lot of times populism and communism look the same until they take power.
So what was he saying there? They're not allowed to buy oil on the market and resell it?
So basically, Russia's like, not supposed to be selling oil pretty much to anybody. Oh. And China was buying 13%, and now they're up to 16%. But what's really been going on is India, since the war has started, has become the middleman. Because China's like, well, we don't want more tariffs. And Russia's like, so let's ship it down to India, which kind of has its own grace with the United States because we're not an active enemy. We're kind of the pseudo ally of some sort. Not quite sure exactly.
So they're funneling the oil through India to avoid some caustic incursions.
Yes, and probably more political than anything else.
Okay.
And then India is basically taking it. Oh, this is our oil, and then they're selling it to China because they can sell to China. China and Russia can't really sell to each other without us being like, can't do that.
Okay,
so China is inserting themselves in this, and that's being called out, which is pretty good. And if you remember, Trump called this out in a truth post a couple weeks ago, where he's like, "Hey, India, more tariffs because you're doing this oil thing."
Right. Okay? So they're not really buying legitimate oil.
No.
on an open market.
No, they're totally basically laundering the oil into the international market.
Got it. They're kind of acting like a
President Venezuela. Laser focus.
Yeah. So here, the other thing too that's happening that's pretty significant is Scott Bessent and Trump are really aggressively trying to pay down the debt.
President Trump and I are laser focused on paying down the debt. So I've been saying that tariff revenue could be $300 billion this year. I'm going to have to revise that up substantially. So I think we're going to bring down the deficit to GDP. We'll start paying down debt. And then at a point that can be used as an offset to the American people. President.
So please explain that a little bit, because I know this is going to be a super confusing thing for most people. So can we pay off the national debt? Is that a thing that you can do?
Okay, so the answer is yes. You can pay off the bonds, but you can't pay off the debt.
Okay. So you're making it even more confusing than I was trying to simplify it.
So this is, in 1776, we kind of lay this all out. In 1776 Live, we lay this all out. I feel like it's a little bit too much to go into because you kind of have to set the stage for this, but every ledger has a debit and a credit side.
Yes.
And you also have a public side and a private side.
Yes.
So it's almost like your ledger has four things going on. So the dollar bill itself is a debt note. It says Federal Reserve note on it. So it is a debt note. It is considered tender, which means it's a completed debt note. So when you exchange it, it's discharge. Okay. Mm-hmm. Cash is discharge. So that debt, the dollar bill, cannot be paid off.
Right. That's an important point. So all of the cash that is in circulation
cannot be paid off.
And
that number is somewhere north of $350 trillion.
Okay.
It's not redeemable. There's no gold or silver attached to that. It's just literally the cumulative total of printed and digitized dollars
in circulation.
Yes. Now, everybody borrows that. That $350 trillion includes the money that was created when you got your mortgage. It includes the money that was created when you applied for a credit card. It includes the money that was created when you got an auto loan. All of that money makes it in the marketplace, and there's $350 trillion washing all over the world, flowing around as currency, like the current of a river. It's flowing around. Okay. That can't be paid off When that goes away, we go back to barter.
So what is Scott Bessent talking about when he's talking about paying down
United
debt?
States, just like you with your mortgage. So now take that macro view and shrink it down to micro. The United States is your a simple household. So irregardless of the fact that money's not real, it's not based in real value, there's no gold or silver to redeem it for, irregardless of that, you have a bond. You have a contract that requires an interest payment of these debt notes. So those bonds, our government is in hock to the Federal Reserve, who, by the way, created all of that $350 trillion for $337 trillion worth at an interest rate of 4 to whatever percent. So your tax payment goes to pay the interest. We don't make enough money in revenue via taxes, fees, tariffs, et cetera, to pay the credit card bill, to pay the bill due, the bonds that are due. Okay. So what he's saying is through the tariff revenue, we can get our budget down to the point to where we're not in the red every year and every month.
For debt service.
Correct. And then once you do that, you can take the extra to start paying down the debt, which then lowers the amount of interest due, which then you can start paying down some principal. And there's that cycle. It's paying extra on the mortgage every month. You start to pay off that mortgage sooner, those bonds sooner. It doesn't pay off the overall debt. It pays off the United States government's debt.
It's like the operating capital.
It's the operating capital. And then at some point, he says, then that can be turned around and offset the American. What does he mean by offset? Offset your personal tax liability, your individual contribution to those bond payments. Because when that's what you're paying through your IRS is the bond payments. But we can't pay off the debt because here's the thing, all that money is redeemable by us. So it's like, you've got, so basically you're going to make us work harder to pay ourselves off faster when we could just write it off.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They're still keeping you in the slave model. And as Trump says is to Too Late Pal, it's just a paper thing. It's just a thing. Okay. But they have to keep the illusion of it alive. It's just the way it is. I accept it on its face. It's just the way it is. It's a house of cards. Eventually Rome will fall. And I plan to be on my farm. Okay, so we are at the time where we probably need to be switching over to private. So we're going to do that. And I have so much stinking stuff left here. I do want to play one other thing before we go private, which we'll have to do here in a minute. This is Daniel Turner talking about a electric vehicle car company called the Rivian. You've probably seen these around. I know I see them all the time. Apparently Rivian had a little bit of a precarious business model.
I want to transition to this because Rivian is saying it's facing a $100 million hole after Trump rolled back fuel economy standards. Rivian, I've driven one. It's a good product, but boy, financially, they've got some real question marks.
It's a fantastic car. It's really cool. I haven't driven one. I can't afford one. They're incredibly expensive. But God bless the people who can afford one, right? But poor Rivian, their model was based on government mandates that were going to outlaw the combustion engine, tax incentives that were subsidizing your purchase of an electric vehicle, and then also these exuberant, these crazy standards coming out of the Biden EPA of CAFE standards, of tailpipe emission standards that were punishing their competition. So if your business model is based on the power of government coercion to get rid of your competition, then you don't really have a product, right? What you have is force. And so no offense to Rivian, but now that you have to compete in the free world, in the free market, and you're not as profitable, that's not the fault of the Trump administration. It's the fault of the lousy business model that depended upon government to kick your enemies to the curb.
Yet you built your business model on the sky high dreams of a bunch of liberal idiots. So they were eventually going to get voted out. So good luck. No bailout. Daniel Turner. Great to see you.
No,
I like her.
Thank you.
This guy and a bunch of liberal idiots.
Amen.
Business model based on government mandates and force. Oh my, oh my. You know, cry me a river deeper.
Yeah, for real.
Golly. Okay, so last thing before we go well, let me just run through here and make sure it can be the last thing. Yes, last thing before we go private. When we go private, we're going to go deep. We're going to go deep into some Putin stuff.
Well, hold on. Before we go private, hold on.
Oh. Big moment. Big moment.
I'm feeling it. There we go. All right, outdoor crew. If you're into fishing, camping, or getting off the grid, Meet your new best friend, the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler from Caddis Sports. This isn't your average cooler. Are you kidding me? None of these things are average. It's roto-molded for max durability, bear-proof, and 20% lighter than other brands. It's so it's easy to haul whether you're deep in the backcountry or just setting up at the dock. You'll get up to 3 days of ice retention. Wow. Thanks to thick, high-performance insulation. That means cold drinks, fresh food, and fewer ice runs. Whether you're chasing muttons offshore or posting up at a campsite. Best part, it's 40 to 50% cheaper than the big-name coolers, but still built to perform season after season. And like all Caddis Sports name brand gear, it's proudly made in the USA. Use code RUMBLE at checkout for 10% off your order today. That's caddisports.com. Go grab the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler and keep your next adventure ice cold.
Now, I got to say something. Ron and I got to know each other really well for the first time, like intimately, on a hike down the Washington coast. We hiked from the top left corner, Nia Bay, all the way down to Oil City. It was like 70 miles or so, 68 miles.
Yep.
Took us. Did we do it in 7 days or 9 days? I've done it twice.
I think we did it in like 5 or 6.
I think it was 7.
7 maybe.
Anyways, huge hike, tons of walking. Holy cow. Okay. It was beautiful though. Right along.
People that are like doing the math, like, 70 miles in 7 days. That's only 10 miles a day. Dude, it's like 1 mile an hour.
You're up and down the heads, and then you've also got the sand and the tide pools. You're hiking, every step.
It's slow going.
Rocks, it's slow going. It's beautiful. To my knowledge, it's the longest place where you can contiguously walk the shoreline.
Yeah.
Right. So it's national forest all the way down the coast, pretty much on the watch. So we did that hike, and it was required that we have bear cans for our food.
Yep.
And what we found out was it's really not bears you're worried about. It's raccoons.
Yeah.
That's why you have the bear cans. And not all bear cans, though they're bear proof, are not raccoon proof. So we need to ask these guys if their coolers are raccoon proof. That's the real test. Can you get around those little squiggly 5-digit hands with opposable thumbs? That's what you really want to know. It's one thing if you can avoid the blunt force of claws and teeth. It's the opposable little wily raccoon hands that you got to be really careful of.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trump was on with, he did a phone interview with Fox in the Morning, and he was asked about what his real goal is in all of this. And this was kind of beautiful.
Just want to end it. I want to end it. We're not losing American lives. We're not losing American soldiers. We're losing Russian and Ukrainian, mostly soldiers. Some people, as missiles hit wrong spots or get lobbed into cities like Kiev and towns. But, if I can save 7,000 people a week from being killed, I think that's I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. But if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons. Well, I think I saved a lot of lives with India, Pakistan. They were going at it. The planes were being shot down. That was going to be maybe a nuclear war if I let that go. And I did that through trade. Just want to end it. I want to end it. We're not losing American lives. We're not losing American soldiers.
So I've never heard that one before. I really hit the bottom of the totem pole.
He's being self-deprecating, right? Like the whole world's like, Trump's horrible. He's out with porn stars, blah, blah, blah. He's
sure,
like,
I've just never heard that one.
I'm not doing so well in the heaven department, but I want to go to heaven, so I'm trying to save some lives. I actually really appreciate that he just says it like that. Like, listen, there is something greater than us, and I'm looking to go to heaven, whatever that means. It means I got to do good. So he's out there doing good, and sometimes
you want to be with the right vibration. You got to send out the right vibes.
Sometimes doing good means chasing Adam Schiff with a switch.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think it's probably time to head over to private. So we will go over there. And those of you who stick around with us, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining the show today. You guys are always so amazing. And
should we skip the outro?
Thank you so much for hanging out on Rumble Chat. Yeah, we're going to skip the outro. We'll go straight to private.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. And if you're in private, you'll get to hear the outro at the end of that. I know